Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the fall of Rome, what brought the empire to the end. Just to back up a little bit, remember that last week we talked about the rise of Christianity, and that happened somewhere in the late 20s to early 30s. Jesus died somewhere between like the year 33 and 39 AD, so we're just a little bit past that. We're going to be looking at the year 1 all the way up to the year 500 AD, and that's in the time period that we're in right now, AD, of course. All right, so the empire is going down the drain. Marcus Aurelius had been their last really good emperor. He dies around the year 180 AD. There was another good one that comes along. His name is Constantine, but it's going to be a couple hundred more years before he shows up. So Marcus Aurelius, super good emperor. People really like him. He dies. And then for about the next 200 years, they're going to get these terrible emperors who just really want to be in power. They want to become rich. They don't really care as much about the growth and the success of Rome as a civilization. So next they get this guy named Commodus. He comes right after Marcus Aurelius. He's lazy. He's violent. People don't like him. His own bodyguards come up with this plan to kill him and get rid of him from the Roman Empire. In the year 235 AD, so that now it's been about 50-ish years since Marcus Aurelius, the army takes control of the empire. And so everybody is being ruled or governed by the army. Everybody's living under martial law or army. The army is the police of society. And what they decide to do is hold an auction, and whoever bids the most money gets to become the emperor. And we've talked about stuff like this before, where just because you have a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that you're qualified to be the leader of a country. So this is going to become an issue about finding a good person for the job. So Roman generals, they begin to fight for power, and they want to be able to buy this position, right? Soldiers want to find their friends and figure out if they can figure out a way to become the new leader. So between the years 235 and 284, there was 23 different emperors. That means almost every other year they had a new leader, which makes things really, really difficult. Here in the United States, we have an election for our president every 4 years. Most presidents serve for 2 terms, which is 2 4-year periods. So most presidents serve for a total of 8 years. One of the reasons we do that is because it's too hard to keep changing leaders, and they need time to get into the job, to figure out how to do the job, to meet all the people they're going to work with, to really understand what they're doing, and then give them some time to start doing the things that they want to do to help your society. When you keep changing and changing and changing, you need a year or 2 just to get familiar with the job. So this is going to be a real problem in Rome. They are not going to have good growth. Most of these emperors were killed either in battle or killed by the citizens or the people who were trying to work for the government, because people were fighting to take over and become the new emperor. So as all this fighting is going on, the army is getting weaker because people aren't respecting the army for what they have done trying to take over the civilization. Less and less people want to be a part of the Roman army. They're not volunteering to be a part of the military because they're just disgusted with what the military has done. So Rome has to hire soldiers. They go to Germany and they hire these German mercenaries, which I think we've talked about in another civilization. I believe we talked about them when we studied China. And so these German hired soldiers, these mercenaries, they come to Rome, and they're supposed to be there to help fight for Rome, and instead they attack Rome. When other invaders show up in Rome, instead of the mercenaries helping Rome, they continue attacking Rome. So this is going very, very bad. So the emperor, after Marcus Aurelius comes along, they have this new emperor, and he decides that the best thing to do would to be split Rome into 2 different sections. So 100 years after Marcus Aurelius has died, we've got people all over the world trying to send someone to be the new leader of Rome, still fighting with the army and everybody else. They get this guy, his name is Diocletian, and he rules for about 20 years. he starts to kind of get things under control and put the economy back in order. People are getting jobs, people are making money, things are starting to change for the better. But one of the first things he does is he splits Rome in two. So now instead of having one big empire, they have two little empires. And this is going to open them up to being attacked by other societies. It's not going to pan out to be a good thing. We can look at this map here and see the two different empires. We've got the orange area, and then we've got this green area that represents the two empires. And then the red empire is territory that had belonged to the civilization after Marcus Aurelius had died, that they're going to end up kind of losing parts of that empire. Okay. So it's the year 324 AD. They get this new emperor, Constantine, who I mentioned before. You might remember him from the Rise of Christianity notes. Constantine made it illegal to treat Christians bad. He didn't allow them to be put to death in the Colosseum anymore. He decides that Rome should be one empire again, and he brings it back all as one empire. And he changes the name of the capital city, and he creates this new capital city called Byzantium. He names the city itself Constantinople after himself. And it becomes the beginning of what, instead of us calling it the Roman Empire, we start calling it the Byzantine Empire. Now, after Constantine died, the empire was split into two again. The weaker side was in the west, where Rome was the capital city, and the stronger side was in the east, and that's where Constantinople was the capital. Sorry if you guys can hear my dog snoring. I think he's dreaming. All right, so Christianity divides too. When these two empires, or when Rome splits into two empires, Christianity is going to split as well. In the east, where it's stronger, where Constantinople is, the emperor said that he was the one that was kind of connected to God, connected to Jesus, and that all of the decisions that he made were things that he had prayed about and had determined that it was the right thing to do based on what he thinks God or Jesus would want him to do. On the western side, where Rome was the capital, the Pope, he's the leader of the church, and he also has the ultimate authority to make all decisions for that empire. So I want you to think about this for a second. The emperor is not the most powerful person in that empire. The Pope, the leader of the Catholic Church, is the most powerful person in that empire. By the year 1054 AD, the church officially divided, and half of it, the half on the east, was called the Byzantine Orthodox Church, which was still a Christian church. And on the western side, where Rome was at, the Catholic Church was the church that ruled that empire. All right, so as the east got stronger, the west got weaker. And the Huns, here come the Huns again. We talked about them several times, from China. They come in from the west. They attack the German mercenaries that were supposed to be there helping. The German mercenaries, they don't stay and help and try to fix the situation. They take off and they decide to go over to the eastern side where things are better. And they end up attacking over there, right? So they attack over there. They destroy the Byzantine, the eastern part of the empire. The western part is ruined because of the German tribes and this group called the Vandals that came to Rome, and they just destroyed the city, essentially, right? So in 476 AD, there was a soldier, a Roman soldier, and his name was Orestes. And he had a son, and he somehow was able to get his son the leadership role of Rome, right? He becomes the new emperor. This German soldier, this mercenary, comes and he says, I want your son to split the empire with me. I'll rule part of it, and your son can rule the other half of it. Well, Orestes said no, he wasn't going to do that, and the soldier killed him. And his son, Romulus Augustulus, was obviously terrified by what happened. He took off, he ran off. No one has any idea what ever happened to him. There's no historical record of what happened to him. The German soldier was not able to pick up this empire and begin to lead it. And that was just the end. There was just like no massive moments, no war, no huge thing that happened. This glorious civilization, one of the greatest civilizations in ancient times, ended like it was nothing that easily. So that was it. That's the end of the empire. It's a big, sad ending. All right, tomorrow we're going to do kind of a fun review day just so we can kind of go over the things that we talked about in Rome. And then we're going to start talking end of this week and for the next couple of weeks about the medieval period and the bubonic plague, which I know lots of you want to know about with all this craziness that's going on with this pandemic. You're going to want to hear about that one. So come back tomorrow and we will wrap this chapter up. Thanks for staying with me.